Have you ever reached for something on a high shelf and felt that unfamiliar stiffness in your shoulder? Or perhaps you've noticed that getting out of your favorite armchair takes just a bit more effort than it used to. These moments are easy to dismiss with a simple, "Well, I'm just getting older." But what if I told you these seemingly minor changes might actually be early warning signs of something you can address before it impacts your independence? Hello, my friends. I'm so glad you've joined me today for this important conversation. You know, just last month, I was visiting with Margaret, a vibrant 72-year-old who has always been known for her beautiful garden. As we sat on her porch, she confided something that had been troubling her. "I haven't been able to tend to my roses like I used to," she admitted, looking out at her garden with a mixture of sadness and frustration. "I kept telling myself it was just normal aging, but now I can barely get down to pull the weeds and standing back up. That's become quite the production." Margaret's story touched me deeply because by the time she acknowledged her mobility challenges, she had already lost significant ground. Simple gardening tasks that once brought her joy had become difficult obstacles. And the most heartbreaking part? Much of this could have been prevented had she recognized and addressed the early signs. That's exactly why I created this video. Today, we're going to explore 3 subtle signs that your mobility might be declining. Signs that are easy to overlook or dismiss. More importantly, we'll discuss practical steps you can take right now to address these changes before they progress to affect your independence and quality of life. What makes this conversation so vital is that mobility isn't just about physical movement. It's about freedom. The freedom to visit friends whenever you choose, to pick up your grandchildren for a hug, to travel, to pursue hobbies, and to care for yourself without depending on others. When we lose mobility, we risk losing pieces of our identity and the activities that bring us joy. Throughout our time together, I'll share insights from physical therapists, successful approaches that have helped others in your situation, and small changes you can implement today that could make a tremendous difference in how you move tomorrow, next year, and for many years to come. So, are you ready to take a proactive approach to your mobility and independence? Let's begin by exploring the first subtle sign that might be trying to tell you something important about your body's changing needs. Sign 1. The extra push phenomenon. Picture this common scenario. You're sitting in your comfortable living room chair after dinner, and it's time to get up. Without even thinking about it, you might place your hands on the armrests and give yourself that little extra push to stand. Or perhaps when climbing stairs, you've started to rely on the handrail just a bit more than you used to. These adjustments happen so gradually that most people don't even notice they're making them. We naturally adapt our movements to accommodate changes in our strength and balance. The problem is, these small adaptations can mask a gradual decline in your core strength and lower body power, key components of mobility that affect everything from walking to maintaining your balance on uneven surfaces. I remember Richard, an active 68-year-old who prided himself on his daily walks. During one of our conversations, I noticed something interesting. When he got up from his chair, he would subtly shift his weight forward, place both hands on the chair arms, and push himself up. When I mentioned this observation, he was genuinely surprised. "I hadn't even realized I was doing that," he said. "I used to just stand up without thinking about it." That moment was a wake-up call for Richard. This extra push he needed was an early sign that the muscles in his legs and core, crucial for maintaining mobility, were beginning to weaken. The good news? Once he recognized this sign, he could take action. So, what should you look for in your own daily movements? Pay attention to these seemingly minor adjustments. Do you find yourself pushing off from furniture when standing up? Are you reaching for handrails or walls for support more frequently? Have you subtly reorganized your home to avoid certain movements, like placing items at waist level to avoid bending or reaching? Do you sit down to perform tasks you used to do standing, like cooking or getting dressed? These adaptations aren't simply conveniences, they're compensations your body is making for changing abilities. And while they might seem harmless, over time, they can lead to a cycle that actually accelerates mobility loss. When you stop using certain muscles regularly, they weaken further, requiring even more compensations, and the cycle continues. But here's the encouraging part. Recognizing this sign early gives you a tremendous advantage. The body is remarkably responsive to appropriate exercise, even in our later years. Research has shown that adults in their 80s and 90s can significantly increase muscle strength with proper training. So what can you do if you've noticed the extra push phenomenon in your own life? Start with simple chair rises to strengthen your leg muscles. Sit in a sturdy chair and without using your hands, stand up and sit back down 5 to 10 times. If that's too challenging right now, it's perfectly fine to use your hands for assistance, but work toward reducing that support gradually. Even practicing this simple movement once or twice daily can begin rebuilding the strength you need. Have you noticed yourself making any of these subtle adjustments in your daily movements? How might addressing them now affect your independence in the years to come? The early signs of balance changes. Let me share something that happened to my friend Thomas recently. At 74, he's always been an avid dancer, ballroom dancing with his wife every Friday night for decades. During a recent visit, he mentioned something in passing that caught my attention. "We've switched from the waltz to mostly slower dances," he said. "Those quick turns just don't feel as secure as they used to." What Thomas described so casually was actually a significant warning sign. His balance system was beginning to change. Like many people, he had adapted by simply avoiding movements that challenged his balance rather than addressing the underlying issue. Balance is a complex system involving your inner ear, vision, and something called proprioception, your body's awareness of where it is in space. As we age, changes in any of these systems can affect our balance subtly at first, then more significantly over time. The concerning part about balance changes is that they often go unnoticed until something serious happens, like a fall. But long before that fall occurs, your body will give you subtle signs that your balance systems are changing. These signs might include feeling momentarily unsteady when turning your head quickly, taking more careful steps when walking on uneven surfaces like grass or gravel, avoiding movements that require shifting your weight quickly, feeling a need to watch your feet while walking, noticing that you walk with your feet wider apart than you used to. One particularly telling sign is what physical therapists call the furniture walk, subtly touching tables, countertops, or walls as you move through your home for extra stability. This behavior often begins unconsciously as your body seeks additional support. For Thomas, the switch to slower dances was his adaptation to balance changes. But rather than simply accepting this limitation, he had an opportunity to address it directly. After our conversation, he decided to speak with his doctor, who referred him to a balance specialist. With targeted exercises, his confidence in turning and moving quickly began to improve within just a few weeks. What many people don't realize is that balance, like strength, can be improved at any age. Specialized exercises can help retrain your balance systems and significantly reduce your risk of falls. Something as simple as standing near a counter for support and practicing standing on one foot for brief periods can begin challenging and improving your balance systems. If you've noticed any of these subtle balance changes, consider talking with your healthcare provider about a referral to a physical therapist who specializes in balance training for older adults. Many insurance plans, including Medicare, cover this type of therapy when recommended by your doctor. Have you found yourself being more cautious with certain movements lately? How might improved balance affect your confidence in daily activities? As we reflect on these initial signs of mobility changes, you might be wondering about other subtle indicators that could be affecting your freedom of movement. There's another key sign that many people overlook entirely, one that could be silently progressing even if you've maintained your strength and balance reasonably well. In our next part, we'll explore this third critical sign and discuss practical strategies that can help you maintain or even improve your mobility, regardless of your current fitness level or age. Each of us deserves to live with confidence in our movements and independence in our daily activities for as long as possible. Welcome back, my friends. As we continue our conversation about recognizing and addressing subtle mobility changes, I'm reminded of something a wise physical therapist once told me. Mobility isn't just a physical state, it's a mindset. What she meant was that how we think about our movement capabilities often determines whether we maintain them or lose them prematurely. We've explored how needing that extra push to stand up and those early balance changes can signal decreasing mobility. But there's another sign that's perhaps the most overlooked of all, one that doesn't announce itself with a stumble or struggle, but quietly changes how you interact with the world around you. Sign 3. The shrinking life radius. I don't go to the farmer's market anymore. It's just too much walking. When my friend Patricia made this casual comment during lunch, I recognized something significant happening. The farmer's market had been a Saturday morning ritual for her for over a decade, a place where she would spend hours browsing stalls, chatting with vendors, and selecting the fresh produce she loved. What Patricia was describing, without realizing it, was what gerontologists call a shrinking life radius, gradually limiting where you go and what you do, based on your perception of your physical capabilities. This subtle sign of mobility loss doesn't involve pain or a specific physical limitation. Instead, it's reflected in the choices you make about how you engage with the world. Think about your own life for a moment. Have you found yourself choosing restaurants based on how close you can park, rather than the food you enjoy? Opting out of family gatherings because getting there seems too complicated? Taking the elevator for one floor instead of stairs you would have easily managed before? Declining invitations that involve walking, standing, or physical activity you once enjoyed? Planning your shopping trips to minimize walking distances? Each of these decisions might seem practical or even trivial in isolation, but together, they create a pattern of gradually limiting your world, and this pattern can accelerate mobility loss in a particularly insidious way. When we stop challenging our bodies with varied movements and environments, we begin losing the very capabilities we're trying to protect. It's a phenomenon similar to what astronauts experience in space. Without the constant challenge of gravity, their muscles and bones weaken rapidly. While our situation on Earth isn't as extreme, the principle remains the same. Movement capabilities we don't use regularly will decline more quickly. I remember visiting Helen, an 82-year-old who had maintained remarkable mobility. When I asked her secret, she laughed and said, "I make myself slightly uncomfortable every day." She explained that she deliberately parks farther from store entrances, takes the stairs when possible, and walks to her neighbor's house instead of calling on the phone. These small challenges, maintained consistently over years, had preserved her mobility far beyond many of her peers. If you've noticed your own life radius beginning to shrink, consider Helen's approach. Look for opportunities to gently challenge your current limitations rather than accommodating them. If walking through a large store feels daunting, start with shorter trips and gradually increase your distance. If you've been avoiding stairs, begin with just a few steps while holding the railing. Then progressively build your confidence. The key is to expand your boundaries gradually rather than accepting their contraction as inevitable. Have you noticed your own world getting smaller in subtle ways? What activity that you once enjoyed might be worth reclaiming? Addressing these signs, your personal mobility plan. Now that we've identified these 3 subtle signs, the extra push, balance changes, and the shrinking life radius, let's talk about creating a personal plan to address them. Because here's the truth that many people don't realize. Declining mobility is not an inevitable part of aging. While some changes are natural, the extent and speed of those changes are largely within your control. I'd like to introduce you to Carlos, a 76-year-old who noticed all 3 warning signs we've discussed. Rather than accepting these changes, he decided to work with a physical therapist to develop a simple daily routine. It wasn't about getting back to how I moved at 50, he told me. It was about being the strongest, most mobile 76-year-old I could be. Carlos's approach is exactly what geriatric specialists recommend: a consistent, sustainable plan that addresses the key components of mobility. Here's what a basic mobility maintenance plan includes. First, strength exercises, focusing particularly on the lower body and core. These muscle groups are critical for standing, walking, and maintaining balance. Simple exercises like gentle squats while holding onto a sturdy chair, seated leg lifts, and modified planks can make a significant difference when done regularly. Second, balance training to maintain your stability and confidence. Try standing near a counter for support and practice lifting one foot slightly off the ground for 10 to 15 seconds, then switch sides. As your balance improves, you can challenge yourself by reducing your hand support or increasing the time. Third, flexibility work to maintain your range of motion. Gentle stretching of your major muscle groups helps prevent the stiffness that can limit your movements. Focus particularly on your hips, shoulders, and spine, areas that commonly become restricted with age. Fourth, and perhaps most important, is maintaining your walking endurance. Walking is the foundation of independent mobility, and preserving your ability to walk comfortably for at least 15 to 20 minutes can make a tremendous difference in your quality of life. If walking is already challenging, start with just a few minutes and gradually build up. What made Carlos's approach so successful wasn't that he did intense workouts. It was his consistency. 10 minutes every morning, no matter what, was his motto. Those 10 minutes included a mix of strength, balance, and flexibility exercises, followed by a short walk that gradually increased in distance. Now, you might be thinking, but what if I already have significant mobility limitations? This is where I'd like to introduce you to Elaine, whose story I find particularly inspiring. At 81, Elaine used a walker and had significant arthritis in her knees. Working with her doctor and a physical therapist, she began a modified program that included seated exercises and very short walking segments with her walker. I started with walking from my front door to the mailbox and back. That was all I could manage at first, she told me. Over 6 months, that distance gradually increased until she could walk around her entire block. Her confidence improved along with her strength. And while she still uses her walker, she's regained the ability to visit friends, shop independently, and even travel to see her grandchildren, activities she had reluctantly given up. The message from both Carlos and Elaine is clear. It's never too late to improve your mobility, and you don't need to start with much to see meaningful improvement. The key is recognizing the signs early and taking consistent action, however small it might seem at first. Have you thought about what a 10-minute daily mobility routine might look like for you? What small change could you begin implementing tomorrow? As we've explored these subtle signs and practical approaches to addressing them, you might be wondering how to get started, especially if you're feeling uncertain about exercising on your own. In our final section, we'll discuss how to find professional guidance, create a safe home environment that supports your mobility goals, and specific approaches for those already experiencing significant limitations. There's so much hope and possibility ahead, regardless of your current situation. Welcome back, my friends. Throughout our conversation, we've explored how to recognize subtle signs of mobility changes and practical ways to address them. If you've identified with any of the signs we've discussed, needing that extra push to stand, experiencing balance changes, or noticing your life radius beginning to shrink, you might be wondering about the next steps. How exactly do you move forward from awareness to action? This final part of our journey together is all about transforming knowledge into practical steps that can help preserve or even improve your mobility, regardless of your current situation. Because mobility isn't just about physical capability, it's about continuing to live a life filled with the people, places, and activities you love. Finding the right support, professional guidance for your journey, I was afraid they'd tell me I was just getting old and needed to accept it. That's what Dorothy, 78, told me about her initial reluctance to discuss mobility concerns with her doctor. It's a common fear, and unfortunately, one that prevents many people from seeking help until their mobility has significantly declined. When Dorothy finally brought up her concerns, specifically her increasing difficulty with stairs and her fear of falling, she was pleasantly surprised. Her doctor listened carefully and referred her to a physical therapist who specialized in geriatric mobility. The physical therapist never made me feel old or fragile, Dorothy shared. Instead, she helped me understand that many of my difficulties could be improved with the right approach. Dorothy's experience highlights something important. Qualified professionals can make a tremendous difference in your mobility journey. But who should you turn to and what should you expect? Start with your primary care physician. Come prepared with specific examples of mobility changes you've noticed, rather than general complaints. Instead of saying, "I'm getting stiff," try something like, "I've noticed it's becoming difficult to look over my shoulder when driving," or "Getting up from low chairs is taking more effort than it used to." If your doctor doesn't address your concerns satisfactorily, don't hesitate to be more direct. You might say, "I'm concerned about these changes affecting my independence. Would a referral to a physical therapist be appropriate?" Most doctors will appreciate your proactive approach. Physical therapists, particularly those with experience in geriatric care, are invaluable allies in maintaining mobility. They can assess your specific needs, identify underlying issues, and create personalized exercise programs that address your particular challenges. Many people don't realize that Medicare and most insurance plans cover physical therapy with a doctor's referral. I remember meeting James, a 75-year-old who had been struggling with mobility issues for nearly 2 years before seeking help. "I thought I just needed to push through it on my own," he explained. After just 6 sessions with a physical therapist, he had a clear understanding of his specific limitations and a simple daily routine to address them. "I wish I'd done this 2 years ago," he told me. "I would have saved myself so much frustration." Beyond physical therapy, many communities offer evidence-based fall prevention and mobility programs specifically designed for older adults. Programs like A Matter of Balance, Tai Chi for Arthritis, and Enhance Fitness are available in many areas through senior centers, YMCAs, or community health organizations. These group programs not only provide expert guidance, but also the motivation and accountability that comes from exercising with peers. Have you considered what professional support might be most helpful for your specific mobility concerns? What small step could you take this week to begin accessing that support? Creating a mobility-friendly home environment. When we talk about maintaining mobility, we often focus on exercises and physical activities. But your home environment plays a crucial role too. It can either support your mobility goals or subtly undermine them. I visited my friend Sarah recently and noticed something interesting about her home. At 79, she had thoughtfully arranged her living space not just for safety, but to actually encourage movement. "I call it my mobility circuit," she said with a smile, explaining how she had deliberately organized her home to require regular, varied movement throughout her day. For instance, she placed her coffee maker at one end of the kitchen and her favorite mugs at the other, requiring a few extra steps each morning. Her phone was positioned so that standing, not sitting, was most comfortable while talking. These small details added movement naturally throughout her day. Sarah's approach is brilliant because it incorporates movement into everyday activities rather than making exercise something separate that needs to be remembered and motivated for. You might consider similar adjustments in your own home. Arrange frequently used items to encourage reaching safely and bending. Create reasons to use stairs if you have them, perhaps keeping certain items on different levels. Position chairs slightly farther from tables so that sitting and rising requires using your leg muscles fully. Create comfortable standing stations for activities like reading mail or talking on the phone. Of course, safety is equally important. Consider these essential modifications if you haven't already. Ensure good lighting throughout your home, especially on stairs and in bathrooms. Remove or secure loose rugs that could cause tripping. Install grab bars near toilets and in showers, not just for safety, but to assist in using your muscles properly during transitions. Arrange furniture to create clear pathways at least 36 inches wide. Keep frequently used items within easy reach to avoid straining or climbing. The goal is to create an environment that's both safe and gently challenging, one that protects you from unnecessary risks while encouraging natural movement throughout your day. This balanced approach helps maintain the mobility you have while building confidence for more challenging movements. Have you noticed aspects of your home that might be unnecessarily limiting your movement? What small adjustments could make your daily activities more mobility-friendly? Hope and practical steps for those with significant limitations. I want to take a moment to speak directly to those of you who may be thinking, "This all sounds wonderful, but my mobility is already significantly limited. Is it too late for me?" The answer, emphatically, is no. While your approach might need to be more specialized, meaningful improvements are possible regardless of your starting point. I think of Mildred, who at 84 contacted me after watching one of my videos. She used a wheelchair due to severe arthritis and had all but given up on improving her mobility. "I just want to be able to get around my apartment more easily," she told me. Working with a physical therapist who specialized in wheelchair users, Mildred began with simple seated exercises focusing on core strength and upper body function. Within 2 months, she noticed significant improvements in her ability to transfer from her wheelchair to other seating, reach items in her kitchen cabinets, and even propel her wheelchair for longer distances without fatigue. "I haven't gained the ability to walk again," she told me, "but I've gained confidence and independence, and that's changed everything." Mildred's story illustrates an important truth. Mobility exists on a spectrum, and improvements at any point on that spectrum can significantly enhance your quality of life. If you're currently using a mobility aid like a cane, walker, or wheelchair, specialized exercises can help you use that aid more effectively and with less fatigue. If you're in this situation, consider these approaches. Work with professionals who understand your specific limitations. Look for physical therapists with experience in your particular conditions. Focus on functional goals rather than arbitrary measures. What specific activities would make the biggest difference in your daily life? Celebrate small improvements, which can have major impacts on independence and confidence. Explore adaptive techniques that may make challenging activities more manageable. Consider water-based exercises, which can allow for movement with reduced joint stress. Remember that improving mobility isn't about returning to how you moved in your younger years. It's about optimizing your current capabilities to support the life you want to live now. Every person's journey is different, and your personal mobility goals should reflect your unique needs and circumstances. As we come to the close of our time together, I'd like you to envision something with me. Imagine waking up 6 months from now with greater confidence in your movements. Picture yourself maintaining or even expanding the activities that bring you joy. See yourself moving through your days with less pain and more energy because you recognize the early signs of mobility changes and took action before significant decline occurred. This vision isn't a fantasy. It's entirely possible when you approach mobility maintenance with awareness and consistent action. By recognizing the 3 subtle signs we've discussed, needing that extra push, experiencing balance changes, and noticing your life radius beginning to shrink, you've already taken the crucial first step: awareness. Now, I encourage you to create your personal mobility action plan. It doesn't need to be complicated or time-consuming. Consider including 1 strength exercise you'll do regularly, perhaps chair rises or seated leg lifts. 1 balance activity, like standing on 1 foot while holding a counter for support. 1 flexibility movement, such as gentle shoulder or hip stretches. A commitment to maintain or gradually increase your walking, even if it's just a few minutes daily. One environmental change to make your home more mobility-friendly. A date to discuss mobility concerns with your doctor if you haven't already. Start small, be consistent, and remember that tiny improvements compound over time. As my physical therapist friend often says, it's not about perfect exercise, it's about consistent movement. The wisdom and resilience you've developed throughout your life are powerful assets in this journey. You've overcome challenges before, adapted to changes, and found ways to thrive. Those same qualities will serve you well as you take charge of your mobility. I'd love to hear about your experiences with mobility challenges or improvements. What signs have you noticed in your own life? What approaches have worked for you? Please share your thoughts in the comments below. Your insights could help someone else facing similar challenges. If you found this conversation helpful, please consider giving this video a thumbs up and subscribing to our channel for more practical guidance on aging with vitality and independence. We're committed to providing information that empowers you to live your best life at every age. Remember, your mobility journey is uniquely yours, but you're not walking it alone. We're here to support you with information, encouragement, and a community that understands the importance of maintaining independence and joy in movement at every stage of life. Thank you for spending this time with me today. Until we meet again, keep moving in whatever ways bring you joy, because every step, however small, is a step toward maintaining the independence and quality of life you deserve.